Well, welcome to Knowledge Bank, and I want to thank my co-host here, Paul. Paul, what's going on, brother?
Hello, Travis, and welcome everyone for joining us.
There's nothing better than Knowledge Bank with a couple of gearheads like us, who love sci-fi and gadgets, and just sit here and talk about what we love, right?
Let's nerd out a little bit.
So, besides being a fellow board member with me and working for wonderful things and reviewing online, and what else do you do? Because I know this is sort of in your wheelhouse of specialty.
Yeah, so I have a background in corporate tech, change gears, obviously shoot full-time now. Also a reviewer, like Travis said, for the photographer. I'm the reviews editor there, APA board member. So yeah, got my head in a bunch of different hats, so to speak.
Okay, and you're looking good, if I do say so myself. Your Zoom game is right up there.
I do need a beer drink.
Which is, if we showed up today and it didn't look good, we're like, oh, why are we going to listen to
waiting for when we're allowed to go get our beards trimmed again. We'll see, hopefully next month.
So, guys, I am going to share a PDF link here for you guys. That is going to be everything we're discussing here, pretty much, and links to those things. And there is a Q&A panel here, which Paul and I will be watching. Paul very, very carefully, because I'm doing some of the background here. But if you have questions, please throw them in there. We're going to be discussing a lot of things today, a lot of things that we use or know about, and certainly we've tested. And I have got a wonderful array of stuff here that I've gone through. All the stuff that, so you don't have to. So let's kind of go into one of the first things that to upping your Zoom game is not even about the equipment. It's about your bandwidth and speed, correct?
Yep, absolutely. You're going to need at least equivalent up and down to get a consistently good-looking stream going out.
And what's funny is a lot of times we think, oh man, I have the best down speed you've ever seen. But your up speed is just as important, especially if you're broadcasting, because you're sending a lot of video and audio, which is a lot of information. If you have wonderful down speed but not good up speed, it's going to pause out. So very important things and little things that we should talk about is, if you can always hardwire. Wi-Fi gets interrupted, has problems, and it's very important to, if you do have low speed, to make sure you're turning off everything that would suck that bandwidth and Wi-Fi up. So, things that you don't even think about, apps on your phone, things that check email, all the different iPads and stuff that are connected to the house streaming. All of that is going to suck away from your connection. Are there other things that you would suggest, Paul?
Well, so one thing I would say, if you're on a device that's both connected to hardwire and Wi-Fi, disable the Wi-Fi, because sometimes it will try to switch within the two, and that could cause issues during your stream.
So one thing I want to talk about, since a lot of us here are professional photographers, we already have a lot of gear already. And there's, a lot of people ask, what is going to be more beneficial, software versus capture cards? And luckily now, because of all of this pandemic and everybody's streaming now, it seems like almost every single camera company has put out a way to use your camera as a webcam. So why don't we go into that and talk about that? I know you've played with a lot of them. I've played with some of them. So tell us about what that option is before we go into some of the capture cards.
Yeah, so depending, obviously, on the camera you're using, you're going to want to use the right software for it. Like if you're on a Sony camera, use Sony software. If you're on the Fuji, use Fuji software, right? So right now we've got Canon. Canon has an EOS webcam utility. It does support Windows and Mac, but you have to make sure that you're on basically a computer within the last 2 or 3 years. And as long as you've got a camera that's on this list, which it's a pretty exhaustive list.
Canon is pretty, you're pretty much covered on a lot of the Canons.
And Sony actually just announced their Imaging Edge webcam software.
Yeah, Sony's the newest one to put that in there. And I know right now it doesn't say Mac, but there are some workarounds and programs for that. And if you're really interested in that, email us and I will send you a link to possibly getting you on if you're using a Mac. Do you know, for you've used the Fuji one, right?
I'm actually streaming from a Fuji X-T4 right now.
Yeah. So let's talk about what have you seen in benefits of and problems, like the pros and cons of using this software.
This is something I've kind of seen universally across all of these webcam softwares is, if you're a photographer like me and you've got either Lightroom or Capture One running in the background, if you happen to be also streaming at the same time, you're going to want to actually turn off Lightroom and Capture One first. because what's going to happen is when you fire up Zoom or one of the other video conferencing programs, it needs to be the primary receiver of the signal from your camera. And when you've got Lightroom or Capture One running, they usually take precedent. So you could then fire Capture One or Lightroom afterwards. And if you, let's say, giving a talk like we did last time with our Lightroom to Capture One talk, that's exactly what I had to do. I had to first fire up a Zoom and then fire up Lightroom and Capture One. That way, it didn't cause an issue. Otherwise, you would just see a blank screen on your webcast, and nobody wants that.
And you've used the capture cards as well as the software, correct?
Yeah, but right now I'm just exclusively using the software directly.
Have you seen any problems with going from like Skype to Zoom to stuff like that, and it not recognizing or having problems with software yet?
Sometimes it's just a matter of plugging and unplugging stuff in because the port either wasn't recognizing it for some reason. It's typical computer glitches. It happens.
So it's been a pretty stable experience for you.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
So if you are a person that doesn't say you're on the go and stuff like that, people are still buying some webcam cameras that are sort of an all-in-one option, and unfortunately now with the pandemic, we're finding that a lot of these are hard to find and getting expensive. So a lot of stuff that we have here showing you today are good options, but some of the prices have gone up and availability can be scarce. I don't recommend too many webcams and stuff nowadays, just because as photographers, we have so many options that are already in our case, from lighting to our professional cameras to mirrorless and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. But the Logitechs are solid. They provide good software. They provide good support. And for me, they've been, before I went to my own, mirrorless and upping my game to the best it could be in terms of video, I would use something like this. Have you used stuff like this as well?
Yeah, actually, I used to have the 920 way back.
Yeah,
so,
and it's funny because it's an older one, the 920, but still gets top reviews.
Yeah, it's still actually used by a lot of YouTubers and game
streamers. So this is all the links here. The PDF is there. So as we go through this, now let's kind of go into, if you're not going to use software and you're going to use like a capture card or the Elgatos or the Cam Links and stuff like that, there are a lot of options out there. And it really simplifies things because all you're basically doing is an HDMI out of your camera into this and plugging it into the computer. It really doesn't get any simpler than that, especially for something like this. This is sort of the cheap version of the Cam Link, which now you can find all over Amazon because the Cam Link gets really tough and Elgato stuff are in limited numbers. Have you used the Cam Link at all or any of the kind of capture cards like this?
I've used the Elgato before, but like you said, the Elgato is actually one of the more premium options you can get, and that's one of the first ones that everyone just bought up, in the pandemic. So we've seen more affordable options come out. I haven't used all of them, obviously, but check the reviews first when you're making.
Yeah, always check the reviews and see what other people get, and take it with a grain of salt. If someone says it's the best thing I've ever seen, sometimes there are bought reviews. And
if the reviews sound a little too similar, it probably was.
What's the best way to kind of spot a fake review?
Well, read a bunch of them, and then if it's just the spelling, spelling mistakes, because a lot of times they're written by people overseas, and just, if it's something that's overly positive, no product is that perfect. So just caveat emptor.
Yeah, I do like going kind of in these kind of hardware options. I find it makes us a little more stable than the softwares, which kind of I've had a couple issues sometimes with different programs.
Yeah, the benefit with some of these hardware options is, for the most part, they're plug and play. You don't have to configure anything. You just it's a bypass dongle basically, right? Yeah,
so and the important thing is that you also have the right cords and stuff like that. So make sure that you know what your camera out is, whether it's you have a full HDMI or an HDMI mini or an HDMI micro, because you might buy the micro and you have a mini, and it's like you'll be like, it doesn't work. Yep. And we have a question in, Paul, and it's
yes, we do. We've got Paul. You mentioned needing computer less than 2 or 3 years old. Is it with? Oh, that's usually more on the Mac side because right now, most of the software support tends to be on the Windows side, and with Windows, you could reasonably expect things to work going back as far as like Windows 7. But on the Mac side, you're probably limited to like the last 3 or 4 generations of updates.
And so the next option I would say is the cam link, which is I think it's a really good option. And just to show you the size of
Facto industry standard.
yeah, it's the one that everyone looks for, and everybody. This is a cam link right here. That's how small it is. So basically, you'll plug your HDMI cord into there. That goes into your computer. That's it. You're done. You recognize your computer now. Once you go to select the camera, you're actually selecting the cam link. And that is your webcam, and it's that easy. You literally select the cam link as your webcam, and you can turn on your Sony or your Panasonic or your Canon or Fuji, whatever it is, and boom, you're ready to fly and go. It doesn't get much more easy than that. And right there, you've kind of increased your zoom game. And when talking about increasing your zoom game, there are real easy steps to do this. I think the most important things, obviously, is lighting, sound, and
Yep.
the camera you're using and what type of lenses. So if you really want that shallow, dreamy bokeh look, what are you using right there? Because you have about as bokeh-licious as it gets right there.
I'm using a 56 millimeter f1.2 lens at the moment.
And are you at the
now
1.2
that is
right
on
now? Or?
Yeah, and that's on obviously on APS-C body, so that translates to about 85. So that's a portrait focal length.
Yeah, I'm on a 16 to 35 at 35 at a 2.8 on my Sony right now. So you
just to
still
show
see
you guys,
kind of stuff here, and it's a much wider.
just to show you real quick.
If I wanted to, I could go really wide with this very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, just to show you like what a difference lighting makes. I'm going to turn the light off right now. If you look at my screen, boom. Yeah, now I look like I'm on like 60 Minutes or something.
And look how quickly the differences of that is.
Yeah, and then just turning the light back on, boom. It makes a world of difference.
So let's go back to capture devices quickly here. And so the cam link is really one that I like. And right now you can probably find them for about $129, which is not really that more expensive because they're pretty much at normal day they were $99. So $129, they're not killing you yet. But some of the other devices out there are ridiculous on the markups and stuff like that. What is really cool is this Black Magic, the ATEM Mini Pro, and this one. So you have a streaming device where you have 4 inputs. So if I can show you here, I will show you, like I am on one right now. So if I hit 2, suddenly you see a different camera of mine. And I will span over here and show you, oh, there's my little ATEM right there. And I can show you, if I go to hit there, I go back to my camera link. Oh, hello. Boom, and they're right there. So it doesn't get much better than that. And I can do all kinds of different sound options on this. I can do different cuts and fades on this. And I can stream directly from this and record, which is really cool. And that kind of goes up to this wonderful recorder here that I have. That's more advanced kind of stuff, which we can go into it. So it really depends how much you want to up your game. And there's all the wonderful...
that's kind of moving towards the pro streaming area.
Exactly.
So if you're running software like OBS and stuff.
Yeah, OBS is a wonderful way that you can really kind of get in there. And if you want to screen record or record things that you're doing on the screen, plus go back to putting on screen graphics like lower thirds and all kinds of fun stuff live or recorded is a really cool way to do that. So if you want to make your own content or kind of make your thing look like a wonderful live show, I would say, play with OBS, but that's a whole different okay. So let's move on from these wonderful Black Magic. And I would, the Black Magic for what it does, the Pro, which is one that does a little more streaming, and they just came out with a third one that does even more stuff. But I would say for the price, this for $295 right now, this is an amazing thing. If you really want to kind of get into changing multiple cameras, or doing webinars, or teaching, or kind of playing with some different stuff. This also has one of the best chroma key in a device that. The same software that's used in their $1,000 product, so it does amazing chroma keying if you're into that. And so for the price, it's an amazing deal. It really, really is quite special. So let's move on to lighting. And lighting, as we said, is one of the most incredible things to really kind of up your zoom. So if you're kind of doing window lights, that's nice. But how many times do you start out with like, oh, it's fabulous. I'm starting out with this wonderful window light, and it goes an hour into it, and sunset, and you're in a shadow and stuff like that. So providing a consistent light is really important, and being able to change that on the fly. I'm actually using the Elgato, so literally I could go. It brings up on my computer. I can switch things on the fly. So if I want to kind of be dramatic and moody, I could go into a dark thing, or I could bring it up here and do my fill, or if I want to do my fill higher and bring it down, it's too bright, I can bring that in, or I can increase the temperatures and kind of do things on the fly. So I want to be like I'm in the sun or something like that. So I can make it as cold or hot as I want. So the Elgato they're not cheap, but they are made really well. And Elgato is owned actually by Corsair. that's their parent company, and they really make like quality stuff, and I'm really kind of surprised with it. But there's a lot of options that we have, and if you supposedly if you were a do-it-yourselfer, you could just go to Home Depot and get one of these lights with a little slider with some daylight balance bulbs and some diffusion, and right there you can increase your zoom right by just going to Home Depot. And but nowadays, I think a lot of us are professional photographers. We have a lot of LED lights at our disposal. We may have them already in our kits. Use them. They're fantastic. They're easy, and you can get them for cheap. So some of these are $50, and soft, bicolor. So you can really kind of get different temperatures with that. If you want to go, that tungsten or daylight balance, and these are not expensive. So if you put two of these together, and this one even has a remote control. So on the fly, you could do what I did, changing, different stuff. And they come in 2-packs. So if you wanted to really kind of up your game and have two set where you didn't want to take the up and down your kit every day, and the lights were always there, so you can jump it on and off and really kind of light it up. These are great options. And this actually comes with a remote and stand and 2 lights and plug it in, which is the most important thing. You don't want to be working on batteries because they'll go dead when you need them the most. What are you using to light yourself?
I'm using a 2x1. I forgot the name of the brand. It's a 2x1 LED panel, basically. So it's like 2 foot by 1 foot. I'm
Nice.
trying to do this, but beyond the.
And a lot of people, especially the reviewers and the YouTubers and the people that are really on there, are using big, soft, diffused lights and all.
Right, they're kind of taking a page out of cinema.
Yes.
So obviously, as we all know, since we're all photographers, the larger and closer the light source are to you, the softer it is, and more flattering it looks.
So if you see here, these are the Elgato lights I was talking about.
Yeah, Jeff made a good point. Always check for the CRI. That's true. That's why some lights are more expensive than others.
Very true.
Yeah.
So if you want to see here, this is sort of my Elgato setup. There's one, and there's the other one, and that's what's lighting me up here. And there's the little studio. Oh, hey there.
Travis's command center.
NASA.
Yeah.
So lighting is really important. Then sound. A lot of people can forgive some bad video and stuff like that, but sound is something that automatically tune out and automatically want to switch if the sound isn't clear. What are you using for your sound?
I am using a Blue Yeti Pro, I believe. Yeah, it's I've got a fancy schmancy special edition white one,
Nice.
which I believe they no longer make. But yeah, it's a Blue Yeti condenser microphone, and it allows you to actually switch the pickup patterns. Which if you're home, you've got other people, sharing an apartment with you, or family, kids possibly, they're too loud. You want something that has a cardioid pickup pattern. That way, you put a mic right in front of you, and it only picks up your voice and rejects stuff from behind. That it does a great deal of kind of cutting out extraneous noise in your environment. It's not always perfect, but yeah, that's one of the key things I would tell people. And if you happen to actually have a high-end graphics card from NVIDIA in your computer, you could actually download the RTX Voice application, and what it will do is it actually uses AI to also eliminate noise in the background. So right now I have that running. I've also got my AC cranking, but you guys probably can't hear my AC.
It's actually really incredible because it is a free download if you have the cards, and it really eliminates things like keyboard typing and these low the fans and humidifiers and air conditioners and all that. It does an incredible it's
that's
frightening how good it is.
That's the RTX Voice application, but you do need an NVIDIA graphics card to use that.
And initially, it was the highest ends, but they've opened it up to some other ones now.
There are ways to work around. There are hacks where you could use it on a non-RTX card, but they're not officially supported. And just to go back real quick, Antonio had a question about the Blackmagic device that you're using. He wants to know if it's compatible with the Rodecaster Pro.
So the Rodecaster Pro, you're talking about the recording soundboard, is that correct?
Yes, it's kind of a sound recording device.
So yeah, 1 second. Let me see make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
And while Travis is looking for that, Katrine has a question. Yeah, Katrine. So that particular software is only available for PC at the moment because all Macs use ATI cards or AMD cards rather. So this is proprietary to NVIDIA graphics cards at the moment.
Well, I don't know where I put mine. I have one here. I actually started out with the Rodecaster Pro, and which is a great soundboard and does a lot of different things. It, it has sampling on it and stuff like that. But what's amazing about the Blackmagic ATM Pro is you can put your mics directly into it as well as your HDMI video, and also bring up the sound. So with the sound, and it has a wonderful software that you can bring up to your computer, and you can actually do all the compression, reverb, and all that stuff through the software. So it does exactly what you were talking about, sort of the RTX does as well. So let's go talk about proper sound. Some of the best way is a lavalier mic, and a lot of us in this profession already have a ton of different mics at our disposal. So you might have exactly what you need already in your bag. So if you have, say, a lavalier, say something like this, you can plug that right into your computer, put that in, and you're going to get fantastic sound. It's one of the really good ways to go. I will put up a little share here to some different ones that, let's go through some of these right here. This is a very cheap option, but what's good about this is it's a USB and it's got a little headphone jack, so you can plug that in, pin it to your lapel or your shirt or whatever you need, and have headphone jacks. And a lot of times when you're working on some people's like Skypes or recordings, what happens is if you do not use headphones, you get this infinite loop of reverb, and it destroys the sound. So a lot of times you have to wear headphones. So it is really important. For some reason, Zoom's pretty good about that not happening. I don't know why, but it works really well. So this is $23. So if you want to get in at the base level of getting better audio and not going off your computer, which is distant from you, and going to pick up a lot of surrounding sound and stuff like that, this is a really good way to isolate the sound and kind of to use that. Going into the Yeti, which is really kind of a, they set the standard for, and all of these are USB mics. If you want to, there are Xlr mics, and that's why you would use a Rodecaster
You'd have to use the
Pro.
DAC.
Yeah, the Xlr is the connection right here. If you see this wonderful little three-prong thing, which you won't go directly into your computer. So a lot of the mics that we're showing you are USB mics that you'll be able to plug straight into your computer and use immediately. So if you had something like this and you didn't have like an Xlr Pro, you would have to use a junction box that would convert your Xlr to a USB, which you can get anywhere from like $100 to $200 and up from there.
Yeah,
so those,
the Scarlett is a popular option.
Yeah. And remember, a lot of these things are very tough to get nowadays because everybody wants to increase their game. And this is another option. Rode makes really good stuff. I've everything that I've used from them has just worked really well. And in terms of XLR mics, if you wanted to, this Rode Podcaster mic is amazing, but it's an XLR, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you have that option. Whereas if you see here on a Blue Yeti, you can see the USB connection right there. It's a small one, and that will just go into your Mac or your PC or your laptop or anything like that. So you can use it on the fly. You can take it with you if you want to go mobile. It's just a good option to use. This is the upgraded Rode Lavalier, which I actually like using with these. So if you are someone that does a lot of filming and video, why not get stuff that is dual purpose that you can use in not only your at home up in your Zoom, but also out on the road. These are very small. They're amazing. One is a transceiver, one is a receiver. And all I have to do is this one has a little mic on it, or I could plug in a lavalier to it right there, and then use this as the device and put the lavalier here. And this is a transceiver which will clip into a hot shoe onto the camera, and this will transmit. And so all I have to do is, since there is a mic on this, I would just put this right here. And suddenly I'm ready to go with great audio, and it's wireless.
Yeah, also one thing with lavalier mics, do yourself a favor, just pick up an extra pack of dead cats, because those things get lost all the time.
So the dead cat, which you don't know, is not a cruel thing. It's
not an actual dead
foam,
cat.
It's the little foam piece that goes there,
Yeah.
this is actually a much bigger version of a dead cat.
Yeah, it basically helps cut out wind noise.
Yeah, so what you would have is, a lot of us have these little mics, which are great. If you have one of these, you can use this and use it off screen a little bit and put it. But the dead cat here just slides on, and then suddenly that kills your wind noise. So that's important. Not so much indoors, but if you're outdoors with wind, that's what you're going to use that for.
One more question. Oh,
Yeah.
how do you control focusing? This is from Esteban. If you
All right,
want to
so
move
there's
around, for
lots
example,
of different ways, and how are you doing it?
I'm letting the camera do it. It's the face tracking on the Fuji X-T4 is actually pretty good. So I'm moving back and forth, and I could actually see the the green square around my face, and if I'm close enough, I could see the white square around my eye.
Yeah.
And that's more dependent on your camera, unfortunately. If your camera has great AF, especially face and eye detect autofocus, you're in a great place.
Yeah, right now I'm on the Sony, the A7 III, which is great too. So if I move out, you'll see it'll now focus to the background. And then if I come back in, it will now focus back on.
Yeah, same thing for me. Like I could hold up the camera, now it focuses on my camera, and then now it focuses
and there's a lot of different cameras that are doing this too, because actually the new video on this one, they have a product mode on this. So like if you're a web blogger or something like that, if you put a product right in front of it, it will instantly focus on that, and then go back, it'll go back and focus. So this one's kind of designed to do that kind of.
Don't forget to adjust the sensitivity on your camera as well.
Yeah, and you can actually, on these cameras, you can set zones. So you can actually say, all right, I only want you to watch this area of the camera to focus. So like, you're not going to be over here. So don't look for anything there. Don't look for anything here. Just go right here.
Yeah, if you're streaming and you already know that you're going to be off-centered, kind of like a newscast, and you're going to put stuff up on one side, just lock it to the zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you're not properly lit, it's not going to focus well. And so you want to make sure that you're lit because it's going to help focus.
Yep. Absolutely.
So moving on to other things that we've picked out, and all of these were, we've put in options from the very cheap to the moderate. We haven't put in like super kill you expensive stuff because
you can get really expensive with mics.
You definitely can.
Yeah.
And this is on the upper end, which is nice because this one is really kind of made for doing exactly what we're doing, because it has volumes on the side, so you can adjust stuff on the fly right there, from the headphones to increasing your levels to even how it's picking you up. So if you're like, oh, you're sounding quiet, instantly I can turn a knob and bring up my volume on that, and also bring up and down the headphone volume straight from the mic, which is really nice to do. And things that you need to think about on top of these are you need a lot of little accessories that you may not think about. And some of these you may have or may not have. And, it's great to have a microphone boom, because you want it so it's not bumps. Because if I was suddenly keep hitting this, it's going to sound terrible, and you're going to hear bumping and vibrations and stuff like that. So you really want to get the microphone, raised up and off of being moved around, so you get a cleaner audio off of it, which is really important. And these are not expensive options, to do that. And you can even throw a little, microphone boom arm, which is what mine's on right now. And there's all, they're priced all over the place. So those are important to have. Headphones, we don't need to go into like what you're using, but what do you, when you use headphones, do you just use your iPhone or your AirPods, or what are you using?
So if I do need to use headphones, I've got my Sony XM3s right here, the noise canceling ones, and I could also plug them in if I need to. I swear by these headphones. Actually, before, when we were able to travel, and anytime I was on a flight, I had these with me.
I definitely have the old school Sonys, and I've had these for ages, and they work fantastic. I just plug them in, and they're ready to go. They sound great. These are the ones I use. I've got like 3 other pairs of headphones, but
I'm not going to drag them over here right now.
Yeah, you don't need to go crazy. It's just something that works and stuff like that. So, whatever you have around is probably going to work just fine.
It's mainly to cut out the feedback.
Yeah, you do not want that. You do not want that loop, which is, you'll have people drive you crazy and instantly tune out, and you will lose them right there. For your camera, if you're going to put it on the desk, or if you want it in front of you, there's lots of options here. This is a real cheap one. You just get a small little kind of tabletop stand and a little pole extension. And on that pole extension, you can put a little head, so you can mount your camera to it, and you can move that around. Or you could just get a mini tripod and put that on your desktop. There's lots of options, or use the one you have. So there's, yes, there you go. The mini ones are great. They're can raise them up and really get in a position, because you might be on a desk and you can't put a full tripod there or something like that. And also for me, I found myself doing this so much that I wanted stuff that was going to stay there and not move around, because I used it so much. I didn't want to break it down and build it back up, break it down and build it back up. I found that was
so
that's where you get most of the problems, I find.
Yeah, if you don't mind like if you're actually building out a studio space, so to speak, if you don't mind, you could actually use the plates that you could mount your camera to.
Yeah.
They actually have holes that are built into the plate area that you can just.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how crazy I went. Okay. So if you see here, right here, I actually can move this, and it's all built on a pole extension. So I can take my camera and really kind of move it out here and do anything I want with it, move it back. And it's on a permanent pole system, like my monitor's on this pole system, my lights are on the pole system. So it's all permanently there, and I can move it around however I need it for whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, and like here's an example of something that you could use just to fit in the frame I'm holding like this. So this is actually a converted three-legged thing, Bucky tripod. And you can take the legs off and replace it with these like feet that you can put on your desk.
Oh, that's neat.
It's perfectly sized for this. Obviously, this is it's a $500 tripod, but
yeah,
if you already have one, if you already have one, then just use what you have. Okay, let's take a look. Couple of questions. Okay, David is talking about a Nikon power adapter. Okay. So we'll drop that.
We actually have a whole section on that. So we'll go into that in a second. So
and then for wireless mic and sensitivity, the newer ones are a lot better. Some of the older wireless mics definitely pick up a lot more interference. Most of the newer mics on the market are all shielded, so you should be okay. But test it out because
and obviously if you're getting there are versions of this online which you can find. I haven't tested them out yet. I don't know what frequencies they're working on. I don't know. These work really well, and I'm not getting interference on them, and they work really well. The lower the ones that are available online on Amazon, stuff like that, they may work great. I haven't tested them.
Yeah, it also depends on, let's say if you're overseas and you buy it, sometimes it may not work here because the FCC requirements are a little different, so they may be on different bands. So that could be why you're hearing interference. So yeah, just be aware of that.
So I see some questions here that are coming up to which we actually have answers to. So let's go into those. Chords. Both, when we were kind of talking about this, both of us instantly go, oh, Monoprice. Yeah. Monoprice is one of the best places to find cords that if you went to Best Buy, they would be $50 and you get them on Monoprice for $6. It is the best place to get cords and different stuff.
Almost all of my cords are from Monoprice.
Yeah. So let's talk about some accessories. Someone brought up dummy batteries. Yes, dummy batteries are a must. You do not want to rely on batteries going dead while you're podcasting or talking on a Zoom or something like that. There are many, many different versions out there. I have this one. I have it for my Sony. They make it for all cameras. This is for the older Sony cameras. This is for some of the newer Sony cameras. They make it for obviously Canon and other things. So just look which one is the right one and make sure it lists your camera as one of the ones that fit in it. And obviously that plugs into the camera slot and you plug it in so you're powered to go and it will stay going as long as you want it to. This is sort of a fancy little thing, which have you used one of these, Paul?
I have. That's super fancy. No, I don't.
Yeah. So basically what's amazing about this is each one of those little screens, you can program an icon or change it to whatever you want, and you can tell it to do all kinds of different fancy stuff. So it's like all these custom buttons that, so if I want one to cut in between scenes, or if I want one to open up Photoshop, or if I want one to go to a website, I can custom program each one of those keys to do anything I want. So if I suddenly wanted to go to camera 1 or camera 2, or turn on my lights or turn off my lights, or all of that can be programmed to the Stream Deck. And
it kind of functions almost like a television control room. So you want to throw up like a lower third or a Chiron.
Right there.
You do that, yeah.
So each one.
You can even program like sound effects to it if you.
I can put any little icon I want to it. It really is for what and you can use it for shortcuts for say Adobe Premiere or Lightroom or Photoshop or all the programs you do. So if there's things that you get tired of like pressing all the time or finding the shortcut for it, you can make your own custom control and use it any way you want. So not only is it great for podcasting things, it's great for kind of everything. So that's one of the things that I really, really like. A lot of people kind of get fancy with the Zoom green screens and stuff like that. And there's so many different ones. And if you want to use one in your own video work, maybe get a bigger one like this, or you can get a smaller one that folds up if you want to kind of put it behind you or travel with it. The Elgato screen that I have, that it pulls up and down, is made so well. And actually, I've used it. It's so good that I now kind of clip backdrops to it. So I'll raise it up and then I'll just clip backdrops to it, different backdrops, and it works great. It's the easiest setup I've ever had. So sometimes I'll turn it to a black backdrop or a multicolored or kind of canvas looking backdrop. So there's a lot of ways to use it that are really, really cool. So those are sort of the quick steps that we have to increase your zoom. Are there any other things that you can think of off the top of your head because it's so important that we have the cameras. So most likely, look at all the things that we showed you. You may have 2 or 3 of them or all of them already. If you have LED lights, boom, you're good to go. You have the camera, you have different lenses. Now you can immediately get going with software, or you could just buy a capture device if you wanted to be kind of just that little extra security and stuff like that, or the microphones. So a lot of us have okay microphones. You might want to invest in a microphone or something like that, but there's so many things here that really can so quickly up your game. And plugging in your camera and getting the lights, boom, right there, you're halfway there. That's so far into it.
Yeah, I would say the mic is probably the most important.
Yeah, you definitely want good audio. It's so important to have good audio. So we have questions from anyone out there that has concerns or things that sort of they want to know that why they're here and what made you.
So we've got Mac and PC. I think that was referring to the Stream Deck. I do believe
Stream Deck works with everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next question we've got is, how do you learn to look at the camera and not the freaking monitor? You just go back and forth. Like right now, my camera's off axis, so I'll look at the camera sometimes, and then I'm paying attention to the Q&A as well, so it's kind of back and forth.
So it's a weird thing, obviously, because when you're talking to someone, like right now, Paul is over to my left, but I'm looking at you, knowing very carefully that I'm pretending I'm talking to someone in my camera lens. Yep. So if I'm actually looking at Paul, boom, I'm over here. There are ways.
Yeah, alternatively, you could, you could get a mini teleprompter.
Which I was about to go into. I have one of those. You can, and that teleprompter goes right over your lens. It's not going to help you with like seeing the people, but if you have a script or something like that you want to read from, and it definitely makes you sound. I never realized until I started doing some webcasting how many times when I initially started doing this I would say between everything would go so
yep, that's a problem.
That's one of the greatest things. Like when you start doing these, you really come to the conclusions and really see yourself of all the things you do. So you'll realize, wow, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm always looking here. I'm always doing this, or I'm always touching my face, or I'm always scratching my eyes. So you will get used to being on air by doing it, and that's the only way you're going to really understand. I need to look at the camera. I need to talk to this. So if you have if you're really trying to make contact with someone and be like, I'm here. You just have to look at the camera lens like it's someone's eyes. Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
I'm talking to you. You're talking to me. It's all good.
Yeah, and it also helps if you could somehow place your camera on axis with your monitor as well.
Yeah, and true is if you really wanted to, you can get one of these small HD things or a little monitor. You can literally put it above or below your camera and actually see everything and set it up. Or you could just move your camera over to the middle of your monitor. Let's say if I was moving it to the monitor was right here, I'd put it on top of the monitor so it's shooting like there. So I'm sort of looking straight at it, and there's lots of options to do.
Someone asked, how did we land on using Zoom? There are a lot of other options. Why Zoom? Just kind of what we landed on during the pandemic. Yeah. Well,
Zoom, right at the beginning of all this, allowed you to do a lot of options that the other ones didn't let you do. Mm-hmm. It had this wonderful kind of you were able to put a lot of people on a screen at once, to talk to a lot of people at once. They were doing the 1 hour one for free. It was pretty seamless. And then they ran into some security issues as they patched and stuff like that. But in terms of the sharing and the breakout rooms and all the options that you had with Zoom, it really was miles ahead of a lot of the other ones. So it was really good.
Yeah, we've seen other ones pop up now.
Yeah.
Hop-In is a popular alternative.
And Hop-In, I think, is going to be the one you're going to see all these, like Sony just did their Kando Everywhere on Hop-In.
That's kind of more like almost professional grade version of Zoom, if you will.
What I found so cool about it was you had these main stages, and then you had these break off expo things. So like everybody could meet in one place or go to this other place and check out opportunities. It was as close as you're going to get to a virtual convention through a space like that, which was really kind of an interesting way to do things.
Yep, absolutely. And then Jeff had a question: recording Zoom sessions, speaker or gallery or both? That's more of your arena.
So here's the little takeaways from this. If you record locally, you're just sort of getting whatever feed that it chooses. But if you record to the cloud, and they want you to upgrade, but what I found is like you've exceeded your Zoom. You know, it's like I have so much in there recorded, it just keeps it. So I don't know at what point it's going to break. But when you can actually set it when you're recording in your Zoom, it will actually record not only the share, but the share with the share screen square. It will also break out the dual screen. It'll break out the full screen. So you will actually get 3 different feeds, and you can edit those together. In fact, when I do my open talks, I record solely on that. So I take one feed that is the share screen of all the slides, and that is one of my video feeds in Premiere. And then I have the dual screen where it's me and the guests, and I will break that out and put that in. Sometimes I will, just put a square and use those. And then it'll go to the single high def of the single person. So it's almost 3 different cameras, which is really cool to use in Zoom if you're using the cloud recording part of it. So you have to cloud record and say that you want it to do that.
And then Peter made a comment. He used WebEx, and the auto exposure screws up your video. Zoom seems to work better. Yeah, WebEx is more of a one-to-many platform that's most commonly used for businesses, especially the tech business. That's kind of the arena where it came from. A lot of press conferences and meetings and briefings used to be done through that. And you'll usually find that the audio doesn't sound too great either because it's heavily compressed. So that's one of the things where like Zoom is a little bit better because
Zoom's not even the best of the video ones. No, I mean, I think Skype actually has better video in terms of like its quality of compression.
Well, so Skype is the civilian version, and then meetings it's the business version now. So you will notice if you're using those that it will really take up all of your bandwidth, and that's because they're optimizing video and audio quality over all else.
Right.
Whereas WebEx, they just want to get the info to as many people as possible at once. So depending on what you're using it for, you have kind of different solutions that you can pick from.
Yeah, I mean, OBS is a free software. It is a pain. I mean, it's really kind of.
There's a lot.
There's so much to it, and it's not intuitive. It's not, but it is.
No, it's
very,
free.
Very powerful.
It's free. It's very powerful, but you'll
be watching lots of videos.
Prepared to spend at least a month, if not more, just familiarizing.
It's frustrating, but it is pretty incredible. Like if I
used to run OBS for Adorama sometimes. So
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like if I wanted to like create a webinar that I was going to maybe talk about how I edit photos in Lightroom. I would use OBS because not only I can switch cameras, but I can record my screen at the same time. So I can instantly go into Lightroom and show the desktop, and then I can go to my second camera and show the overhead of me maybe editing and what tools I'm using, and then go to a camera. So it's this wonderful it's really a studio all in one. So you can do all the different inputs and sound and really kind of layouts and overlays. It's really, really powerful, but it's not easy.
Yeah, that's when you're kind of moving into like the professional studio setup. If you plan on doing this a lot going forward, certainly look into investing into that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that once you set it up, you're probably not going to want to take it apart and move it around.
It'll drive you crazy sometimes. It'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's a process. Let's see. We've got a couple more comments.
StreamYard is a good one, and they're priced right. StreamYard is also a good option. Yes.
So, StreamYard, and then what do you use for Instagram streaming? I think right now there are some third-party apps that let you do that, but usually you have to do it.
To be honest with you, and it's something we actually didn't discuss, and I think it's only Android only. Some of the best little camera phones and all we have are on your phone. And actually, with Android, you can actually hook this up as a webcam to your computer and use it as a webcam. So if you don't have a fancy camera or something like that, there are apps where you can plug this into your computer and use this as a webcam, which is really cool.
Let's see, OBS project. Yep, that's exactly what we're talking about, Richard.
Yeah. And if there, I put the PDF in here of all the links of stuff that we did share. If there's anything that that sort of didn't get there, Paul and I are easy to reach, and I'm chairman at apanewyork.com. And Paul, what address? If someone has a follow-up question, would you?
I will drop my email in the comments,
I'll throw
and you
mine
guys
there
could
too.
also just DM me on Instagram. It's probably the quickest way because my inbox is perpetually packed.
As we sit here typing our emails, there we go. Fantastic. So these are the steps I would really suggest on upping your Zoom. And it's funny because when I first went into the whole pandemic, I was only just starting doing some webinars. I was a co-host on Around the Lens, and I was trying to figure out how to do this stuff. So I had some of it here, but over the last since March, I've really kind of dove into the lights and the mics, and I've tried so many different mics. I mean, I have like 6 or 7 different mics here because I've tried so many different ones. And a lot of times, you don't have to get that fancy to get really good audio, and sometimes you already have it. If you have these Rode, wonderful like Rode shotgun mics, that's sort of you just put that off screen and tilt it at you and you'll get good sound, especially for something like this. Or if you have a lavalier, that's going to give you great sound for something like this. And the lights, definitely do the lights, nice soft diffuse light. One is going to make a big difference. 2 to the side is, it'll give you a little more control. And if you want to do some green screen stuff, you should put probably one on your back to hair light. That'll help with the green screen.
One more thing, by the way, if you're using a cheaper mic and you notice that maybe your audio doesn't sound as clean and there's a lot of pops, that's because you have to watch out for what's called plosives. It's basically any word that starts with a P or popping sounds.
Yeah.
That's why you probably want to invest in a pop filter. It's basically a net that you put in front of your mic. Any other questions, closing remarks? Anyone? Bueller?
Bueller? And so, guys, obviously, this is we love doing these knowledge banks. Paul and I love geeking out on this stuff anyway, and we love playing with toys. And if we can spare you from buying duds and stuff like that, and get you the good stuff, that's really important to us. But also in the future knowledge banks, we really want to know what you want to know about. If you want to know about, I'm really having a tough time understanding NAS or cloud storage or stuff like that, let us know the kind of where do you want us to dive in, really? Well, what kind of things do you want us to focus on? So we can actually kind of program. Hey, help us help you. Exactly, Paul. I couldn't have said it better. So please, we both gave you our emails. Please reach out to us so we can plan the next knowledge bank for you guys. And this will be recorded, or it has been recorded, should I say, and will go up on our YouTube channel. So I've also put in our link to the YouTube in the chat where we put up all of our wonderful content. And that's where, if you missed anything we did on World Photo Fest Day, which was a basic 11 hours of talking to guests and wonderful stuff, talking about street photography and how to increase your numbers and improve, all kinds of things. It was an insanely awesome day. Those will soon start going up on this web channel as well on our YouTube. So please check that out. This will also go up on our YouTube. So if there's anything that you wanted to follow back up on or watch, this will be up there as well. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I thank Paul for being a wonderful co-host on Knowledge Bank, and we love bringing these to you, and we can't wait to bring you the next one, and we'll decide what that is, hopefully from some of your feedback today.